So this video will be about managing or installing and managing Active Directory domain services on Windows Server 2019. And just to go over what domain services are before we start, a domain is like a grouping of objects inside of a network, like users, computers, etc. They're created to establish administrative boundaries between different entities that are in the network. And a domain controller is what you would call the server or computer that is responsible for the authentication requests, storing user info, and many other things in a domain controller, or in a domain, sorry. And so we're going to be making a domain controller right now. And just as like an example, this is kind of what um, a company would have their layout kind of looking like. They have a domain, um, and then subdomains underneath, and that's what you would call a tree, a group of domains. And then you have the root domain here connected to another root domain, which has its own subdomains. And the whole thing is called a forest. So the first thing to start off, just like with anything in Active Directory, you want to have the roles and features added. So we'll just go ahead and install the Active Directory domain services role on both of these VMs here. And so then once that's done, we're just gonna have to promote the domain controller. And then you're probably gonna have to do a restart. So I'll just see you guys once this part is done. Okay, so now it's done for both. And just before we proceed, I just want to show my IP settings for my machines. So these are IP settings for that machine, and I'll just pull up this one in a sec. So this is what it's looking like right now. So that's that. So now what you want to do is you just want to promote the domain controller by clicking the yellow triangle up here. So since we don't have an existing domain or forest, or existing forest, yep, we're going to add a completely new forest, and we'll just name it charn.com. And we're going to keep everything pretty much default. Not going to worry about changing up too many of the options. So, pretty much the capabilities will stay the same, the functional level of the forest and root domain will stay the same. We're just gonna type in the password once it allows us to. Takes a while to load sometimes. So you might need this password if you ever need to restore stuff. So just keep it, just make sure you remember it. We're not gonna worry about DNS delegation. The NetBIOS name is auto kind of created based off the name you selected for your forest or domain. So it's just we'll just use whatever the default is. And then from here on out, we're just gonna keep clicking next. And it's just gonna verify prerequisites, and then we can start proceeding with the install. So just start the installation now, and then we're gonna have to do a restart afterwards, and then we'll deal with this machine right over here. So once it's done installing, we're gonna get a prompt to tell us that it's just going to do a restart. So yep. So after the restart, we're back in this machine here, and we're going to go ahead and start the promoting of the server on this second one here. So we're just going to be adding a child / subdomain, because this one is the root domain and this one will be the subdomain. So we want to choose the add a domain to an existing forest option. Make sure it's child domain, specify the parent domain, which is charn.com, and then you just want to specify the credentials, and at the beginning here we want to specify the charn domain. The new domain, we'll just name it like child, and then we'll go next, and then all the other steps will pretty much be the same thing, just selecting the defaults, typing in the password here, just because you know it's simply a demonstration. Well, we'll just leave that how it is, and just again next, and then yep, the prerequisites will be validated, and then we can install, and then do another restart, and then take a look at kind of what we created, what we did, and talk about it. So now, after everything's restarted and all good to go, we can go to Active Directory users and computers. You can see here we got the charn.com domain and the child.charn.com domain. So we got our subdomain and then the root domain. And we can also change the domain controller if we want to manage the other one, for example. So we click here, and now we're in this domain from this machine. So another thing kind of want to show is quick sketch. Not really a nice one, but this is kind of what our forest looks like, or our domain tree. We got charn.com, which is the root level domain, and then underneath that we got the sub or child domain, which is child.charn.com. And just another like little demonstration I kind of want to do is you know, if I create a user, for example, I'll just make one in the sales domain, which will, or sorry, not sales domain, the child domain. We'll just make a new user called like Mary. And so we can actually use this user to log in to the other domain. And you know, you can see here that now the user we created here is here as well. You know, you might have to wait a bit, or like kind of change to the other domain and change back for it to kind of like update. That's pretty much it, you know. Just a little small demonstration I wanted to do. And obviously you can do a lot with this, and kind of do very complex things with it. But yeah, you know, now we got two domains, a root domain and a subdomain, and they can kind of communicate with each other. You know, with the proper permissions and all that, you can log into each other, and do many sorts of things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Kind of just an overview or a summary, or just a quick tutorial on how to do that and how it works. So thank you.